It's a Misophonia Without Borders Quick Talk. I'm John, but you can call me Smooter, and this episode is called what? What is it, Doug? I'm talking here, man. Huh? Oh, sorry. Wrong show, I guess. Okay. I've been ill. I was supposed to have a business trip to Vegas this week, and I was really looking forward to it. And at the last minute, it got canceled because of an infection, which I'm getting over, but it's still there. In fact, I also missed out on a free steak at one of my favorite steakhouses in Vegas from a buddy of mine because I didn't make the trip. But we'll do that next time I'm there. And also was going to do actually at least one quick talk, if not more, and maybe some form of things I hear episode on misophonia in Vegas. So I will work on something like that the next time I am actually there. I just don't know when that's going to be yet. But anyway, so I'm about over this infection, but working on this episode on and off today, I think I'm relapsing. Obviously, right? But I wanted to finish and get this out to you guys because this is a very special episode that we've been planning for a while. And as you'll soon see, it's now time sensitive too. We probably won't actually need the disclaimers for this one, but better safe than sorry. So I'll do my best not to make any triggering noises or gestures. And if you trigger, when you hear trigger descriptions, worry not. If one is coming, Doug will place this trigger alert description sign up over my head a few seconds ahead of time so that you can mute me if you need to. And when the sign disappears, the trigger description is over and you can unmute me. But again, that's probably not going to matter for this episode. Lastly, the Misophonia Without Borders channel, this show and I do not make any claim to have a cure for misophonia, nor do we offer any type of medical treatment for anything. I'm just a guy with misophonia, and I'm here to talk about it. And Doug's excited because we have a special guest today, and he's a fan. Dr. Jaelline Jaffe is another of our Misophonia Community rock stars, and you'll definitely see her at the Misophonia Convention, which is now less than 2 weeks away. She has been involved with and helping the Misophonia community for years. California licensed marriage and family therapist, she is best known to us for her counseling and coaching for tinnitus and, of course, misophonia. I had planned a longer intro, but it turns out that most of what I would have said comes up during the interview anyway. So without further ado, well, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And we have a special guest with us here today. She's been involved with the misophonia community for years, Dr. Jaelline Jaffe, and she is also on the Misophonia Association, excuse the stutter there, Association board, and she does a lot to she's very involved in putting together a convention like the one that's about to happen. Sign up now, sign up now, sign up now. And she worked really hard this year on that too. I mean, not that she doesn't every year, but this is the first year I've ever got to see firsthand what the planning process is like. And it's a nightmare, but it's worth it for everybody in the end. And she's going to share some information with us. Dr. Jaelline Jaffe, good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me. You want me to just jump in?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go right to my first question. How did you get into the whole misophonia thing, and what is it you do with the community now? I know you do a lot of work helping people. So can you give us some insight into that?
Yeah. I got in through a sort of a side door. I was a therapist working with people who had various different kinds of issues, relationships, couples, whatever, for something like 20 years. And then I happened to see an episode of 2020, which is a ABC show with Elizabeth Vargas. And she was interviewing a mother and teenage daughter who couldn't be in the same room together because of basically what turns out to be misophonia. And I was watching that and thinking, that looks to me like it's a neurological problem. It also looks to me like it has a whole lot of complicated family dynamics and emotional overlay. Maybe I can help with that part of it. So I happen to have already gotten in communication with an audiologist who was referring me his tinnitus patients. I thought it was called tinnitus. I have that thing, but I didn't.
Not?
Yeah, I didn't know. Most of the audiologists call it tinnitus. But anyway, he wanted me to develop a cognitive behavioral therapy program for him, and I did, and was working with a lot of his patients, and I still get lots of referrals from audiologists for that. But in the middle of that, this came up. And the way he found me is that I had put up a website previous to that called Lemonade Counseling, When Life Gives You Lemons. And the reason for putting that up was that after those 20 years of being a therapist, somehow I developed a medical problem that was affecting my eyes. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't hold a steady gaze. My eyes would close, they'd be moving around. It's like a little hard to do therapy when you can't look somebody in the eye.
Right.
It kind of looks shitty, doesn't look good, right? So I was devastated with this condition, thought I was going to have to quit being a therapist until I decided I could use my issue, my problems, and the roller coaster ride I had been on to figure out what do you do with something that nobody's ever heard of. And so that's why I developed that website. Well, this audiologist had found me through that. And eventually I asked him about this 2020 episode and did he know anything about misophonia? He referred me to Marcia Johnson, who was actually the person who identified it prior to the people that gave it a misnomer of misophonia. She called it 4S, Selective Sound Sensitivity Syndrome.
Would this be the same Marcia Johnson that's on episode 2 of this series? Just want to make sure that I'm not mixing up my people.
Betcha.
Okay.
Yes.
So you guys know each other. Great.
Know each other very well. So he put me in touch with her. That was probably in 2012, I think, maybe. And she was involved with the Tinnitus Association, the American Tinnitus Association, and they were in the planning of the very first ever Misophonia conference. So she invited me to attend. All the room was full of audiologists and me, a therapist. And by the time I had gotten there, I had started working with someone with misophonia, and I ended up being on the program. So I've been on just about every conference presentation program since then with misophonia. And now misophonia is pretty much almost my whole practice, that and tinnitus. But I probably have seen more people with misophonia than maybe any other therapist anywhere because I've been doing this for so long, and I get referrals from all over the country, in several outside of the country, even though I'm in Southern California. That's where most of my work started, but I'm no longer working in an office. I'm working telehealth completely. So, so I'm seeing a lot of people with misophonia. Lots.
Well, you are known within the community, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but in fact, celebrity with misophonia named Lisa Loeb has heard of you. She actually mentioned you when she first came out about her misophonia on the Misophonia podcast with Adil Ahmed. I'm tired, folks. Adil Ahmed earlier this year. She was familiar with you. She brought your name up, and she's going to be at the conference. But you know what? We'll talk about that later, folks.
Okay.
So next question, speaking of the conference, aside from Miss Loeb, what can people expect? There's probably going to be a lot of new people who haven't been there, especially an in-person one since we've been hybrid for the last few years. Thank you, COVID. What can people expect?
We've been not hybrid. We've been.
Correct. My bad. We're hybrid this year. Before we were just locked down. See, it's driven me nuts.
We were online for 3 years. So we did 6 in person, 3 online, and this one's going to be our first hybrid, which is presenting its own complications, and we hope it'll all go smoothly with people being present and people not. But going back to when we had in-person meetings to begin with, people with misophonia would kind of ponder, why would I want to go to be in a room full of people who make noises that I hate? That does not sound like any fun to me. It turns out that it's an awesome experience for people with misophonia and their family members, because you get to meet a lot of people who know exactly what you're talking about. You do not have to explain it. You do not have to, apologize for having a problem. You have a problem there, everybody else there has the same problem, or else they're living with someone who has the same kind of issues. So there's no explanation needed. We have very strict rules about no food or drink in the meeting rooms. If you need to make noise, you're welcome to leave and come back. It's all fine. It's a very safe environment. It's especially fabulous for teenagers because they get to meet other kids who totally get it and have some discussions with them. We're going to create a separate programming for the teens. It's a really amazing opportunity to learn about what's going on in the research and also some practical tools for coping and management. And then there's just this great thing about meeting other people and families. We have breakout groups for people who have misophonia, people who are parents of people who have misophonia, people who are spouses or partners. So we kind of try to cover all the bases of, what your issue is and how we can help get people to communicate with each other about this.
Sounds great. Are there any speakers presenting here that some in the community may have heard of from previous published materials, podcasts, other conventions that names that might be recognized?
Well, as interesting as I was doing, so I do presentations for these meetings. I've done pretty much two presentations for every one of these this is the 10th one. So this year I was trying to we asked presenters who had been with us before to try to present something new so that the people who have been to many of our conventions or who have watched the videos, which are available through the Misophonia Association website, videos of all the past conferences, conventions. As I was doing some research, I came across all the name for my current presentations that I'm going to do this time. I came across the names of a lot of researchers who we're including in this program. We have several of the most recent research people included in this year's program.
Great.
In addition to some of the people who know the most about working with this condition, I could, rather than running off a list of names, I just suggest you go look at the schedule. It's on the Misophonia Association website, and it has the names of all the presenters and all of their topics, and quite remarkable number of people that you either maybe heard of or maybe you haven't, but you'll know them by the time you're done with this meeting.
Your names that you remember afterwards.
Yeah. So up until now, I've presented mostly types of programs that have to do with coping and strategies and family management and things like that. This year, I'm presenting two different things that I've never done before. Two and a half. Well, one of them is called the Goldilocks approach or Goldilocks effect or something like that. It has to do with family accommodation. What is too little, what is too much, and what is just right in terms of what families can do or maybe could do, ought to do in order to make life more manageable for their misophonia family member as well as for the family itself. So that's one of my topics. Another one is called Science and Speculation. What's causing this? What causes misophonia? There is some science available, some research. It's ongoing. It has been for about 10 years now, but more and more ramped up. And in that area, there are a few explanations for what is happening, but there are really not any explanation for why. So I'm speculating why, based on a lot of conversations I've had with hundreds of people that I've worked with over the past decade. and some ideas that have come up as to what maybe set this off. Why did this person rather than that person happen to have this occur? So I have some speculations to put out there, which I'm hoping some of the science researcher people will pick up and do something with. And then I'm doing one more presentation that has to do with interesting, different, non-verbal kinds of approaches to working with misophonia and other kinds of problems that are located somewhere in the body. So there's somatic approaches that are different, that sometimes are helpful in addition to talking about them, or instead of sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to make it to your presentations because some of those definitely piqued my interest. Of course, I'm the new guy. It's entirely possible that I won't make it because you guys will have the rookie scrubbing a floor somewhere, emptying the full trash cans. I don't know what you're going to have me doing this time. First time I'm actually going to have to work while I'm there, but I'll do my best. But they all sound great, and I think people have a lot to look forward to at the convention, and certainly with the parts that you're going to be presenting. So, is there anything else that you would like to add to this?
I really love meeting people who have misophonia and working with their families, because I know this is a very complicated problem. It is, anybody who's tried to get insurance reimbursement or whatever, it's not legitimately recognized yet by the medical community or by insurance companies. I'm hopeful that it will become so pretty soon as a distinct disorder, because it, as far as I can see, it is. And so I really appreciate the people that I've been able to speak with and get information and ideas about what else I can do to be helpful. And these conventions are just the pinnacle of assistance every year. They're really good experiences.
Agreed. And I look forward to them every year. And I will add one thing to this, just a side note. Uh, don't mess with Dr. Jaffe. She is a stickler for rules and taking care of our privacy. Last year's not hybrid online convention, my wife, at my encouragement, attended Dr. Jaffe's forum on what was it, spouses of people with misophonia. So of course I'm the people, my wife being the spouse, and I'm not supposed to be there. And I was leaving. But it was taking me a few minutes to get out and the session had already started. And I don't know if I laughed or something, or if you saw me running around in the background, but all of a sudden from the laptop my wife was using, I hear something to the effect of, "John, get out." And so I got right out of there and let them do their thing. And I think it was an hour. I didn't come back for 2 hours. I was scared. And do not cross Dr. Jaffe, because she's serious about taking care of us. So again, thank you for being here with us and taking the time to share everything. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
2 weeks, actually.
Less than two.
Yes.
We're down to the wire.
Yes. I'm still working on my PowerPoint slides, so it'll be it's going to be a busy 2 weeks.
But worthwhile.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I look forward to seeing you there.
You can reach out to Dr. Jaffe at her websites, sensitivetossound.com and lemonadecounseling.com. Again, that's sensitivetossound.com and lemonadecounseling.com. That information is also in the details below. And as mentioned earlier, the 2023 Misophonia Convention is now less than 2 weeks away at the Embassy Suites in Albuquerque, New Mexico, November 2nd through 4th, and you can also attend online. Have you registered yet? It's right around the corner, and I heard we had a notable increase in registrations the last few weeks, so get in and register now while space and bandwidth are available. Links to the convention and registration info are also in the video details below. And don't forget our special guest, Grammy Award-winning artist and member of our Misophonia community, Lisa Loeb, is going to be there if Doug doesn't keep harassing her. What, you thought I wasn't going to find out? Yeah, her manager called me, and you need to quit calling, okay? It's quit calling Lisa. It's getting kind of creepy. She's not going to get you a record deal. I don't even know if they call it that anymore. She doesn't do death metal anyway. What do you mean country music? Okay, well, whatever it is, she ain't doing it. Just shut up, Doug. Did you know the Misophonia Without Borders channel hit 10,000 views just before we completed this video? After our first month and a half, we just got to 5,000 views last week, and that number doubled in just 1 week. A big thanks to all of you who've supported us by liking the content, these Things I Hear episodes and our Quick Talks, shorts, and subscribing to the channel. Please keep up that support. Keep liking the vids. Subscribe to the Misophonia Without Borders channel and tell a friend. Why? Because misophonia sucks. Yeah, I probably am going to use that one more than once. Okay, I need to take an antibiotic and a Tylenol and pass out. So thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Good night. Well, good night for me anyway.